Hey, what's up? It's Autumn, and this is Just a Thought. Hi, welcome back. Thanks for being back. Today is a really good day. I know I say this all the time that I'm like excited, but I am excited. This is a good friend of mine, and she's a complex person. And I say that, I think we all are, but in the things that she's doing and who she is and why she is, and she's got a lot of things to talk about. So, unlike other episodes where we've had a very specific topic, this one is just a free fall because I just want to just talk about her and all the spaces that she lives and exists in. And I think that that's going to be a real blessing. And so I'm excited to hear about all of the things that she has to say. And before we get to that, obviously I need to introduce her so you know exactly what I'm talking about and why I have chosen to do this a little bit different today. So today I'm joined by my friend, Delaware State Senator Nicole Poore. I had to make sure that I said the Delaware State part. And Nicole, we're going to talk about this because I think people don't even realize that they have state senators. Like hear the word senator and they immediately think
Mhm,
federal. And we're going
mhm.
to talk about that too, people's awareness about
Yeah.
politics and government and all the things. But anyway, so she's our Delaware State Senator. She's actually mine. She represents my district. She is a proud representative of District 12 and she's been since 2012. Time. So she is a champion of families, students, and especially people with disabilities, which is something that is a passion that is rooted in her own family story. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. She's not only served as Senate Majority Leader, but she's also the powerhouse president of Jobs for Delaware Graduates, where she is helping young people step confidently into their careers. And so really helping people to grow in that space too. But beyond her titles, right? That's not the most important thing about her. It's her heart. She leads with authenticity, with humor, and she is fiercely committed to making sure that every Delawarean has a fair shot. She is, whether she is championing policies or whether she's mentoring students or whether she's cheering people on, and I can personally say that she does cheer people on. She has cheered me on. We have sat and talked at lunch where she has told me, do that. Do that. You want to do that? Do that. And we were literally just having a conversation where she was cheering people on last night. This is her thing. But she is constantly showing up for others in her community, in her family, and in her network. And so I'm super excited to talk to her about all of the things. Nicole, thank you.
Well, thank you, Autumn. Very kind words, and I appreciate it. Sometimes, I don't think of my daily stuff as what I'm doing, but, I've certainly grown a lot, of course. And
Yeah.
when I meet people and there's a synergy, right? And you get talking about who they are and the things that they want to do. One of the biggest things that I always say is that the answer is no unless you ask,
Right,
right?
right,
It's
right.
always
You
going to be no.
you have look, Nicole, you have a personality that just has synergy with people in general. I don't know. I'm sure there's people that you don't vibe with, but I think for the most part, you figure
Mhm.
out a way to. I don't
Yeah.
know that I've ever heard anybody be like, "Oh my God," like it just feels like you are a very connective person, and I love that about you, that you are intentionally looking for
Yeah.
ways to connect and champion people, and that's really admirable and something that we should all be really trying to do and to get better at.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just want to jump right into it. Like I said, I have a lot of stuff that I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
And so we're going to kind of be all over the place. So I appreciate your flexibility up front. Also, it has been a I appreciate you making time because I've been trying to get you here for like, I don't even know, it feels like a million years.
It does. It does. It does. My apologies. But again, like it pops up and I was like, I'm doing it. I'm
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. You text me and you were like, okay, I love this. I want to do. I'm like, thank you, Nicole.
Yeah.
Yes, let's do
Well,
this.
you know what it is first of all, I was following you
Hmm.
and I'm watching your interviews and the conversations. And sometimes, I mean, there are times I'm insecure too,
Yeah.
right? What's gonna be said, what's gonna happen, are people gonna think I'm funny? Because I think I'm hilarious,
I
to
mean,
be
I think
quite
you're funny.
honest. I make myself laugh. And even when people are around me and they're not laughing, I'm like, that didn't hit right. Let me try that again. But anyway, it's like, you know, we just we do have to have a connection. It's a weird time,
Yeah.
and we need to be respectful and kind, and
Yeah.
even when you don't agree.
100%,
Yeah,
especially when you don't agree.
yeah,
That's the especially when you don't.
yeah,
So, well, first of all, I'm glad that you, because it sounds like what I hear you saying is that you were a little nervous about what this was going to look like or how this was going to be or how you're going to be received or perceived. I think
yeah,
that you're a credible human, right? Like I said, every interaction that I've had with you has always been just amazing. And I think that we're our harshest critics, right? We come across
yes.
much better than we think that we do
Mhm,
or are. Other
mhm.
people are like, "Oh my God, you're killing it." And you're like, "What? I did this one little thing." You're like, "Are you serious right now?" So, giving yourself more credit than maybe you are is
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
in order. So I'm glad that you overcame that and got here. So I want to start not at the political, we can save that for a second. I just want to talk about you as a woman and a mom
Mhm,
because uh motherhood is its own beast. Like
mhm,
the things that women go through raising children, just not just even the physical, but the emotional, the mental, like all of the stuff that it goes into raising a child is defies words. It's like something that a person just has to walk through it to really truly know.
mhm.
I don't know that there's a way to truly describe that. But and we always want to be protective of our kids and we always want the best for them. And you know what
Yep,
I mean? Like all of those different things. And you have a son that has special needs.
I do.
And I just, if you could talk about that a little bit and what that has been like, that extra layer
Yeah.
for you in motherhood, what that journey has looked like for you,
Sure.
and
I
what you've
often
learned from it, I think, too.
I often tell people I've worked a full-time job before people woken up in the morning, right?
Yeah,
So it's hard to carve out time for yourself, but that's any mother. That's
yeah,
honestly any woman, to
yeah,
be very honest, because you're pulled in so many different ways. And I think there's this thing about we have to be perfect.
yeah,
Our insecurities are our own,
right,
but we play on them. And so it's like, can I get all this done? What am I doing? And how am I getting it done? And showing up for everybody.
right,
Nicholas requires full assist from head to toe, which most people don't realize because even though we post, even though you see this, what I think is a beautiful picture, right? Because I think my kids are beautiful,
they are,
but thank you. But even when you see that, you don't realize what goes into all of that, right?
right,
So when I show up late, I still show up, but when I show up late, people have no clue that Nicholas could have had an accident. And when that happens, because he's 26 years old,
yeah,
he has to wear diapers.
yeah,
In order to get him changed, I've got to completely strip him down. That means braces off, socks off, shoes off, like the whole thing,
right,
in order to get him ready and be independent as much as he possibly can. But I'll go back in time. My husband and I are going to be celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary on
happy
October 7th.
anniversary.
Thank you. I am very, very, very lucky. In this world, families don't survive.
Well, can I just stop you right there? It's not luck, that's work.
Mm, yeah,
That's
yeah.
work. It's not luck. You did not just happen to get there. Y'all have been putting in the work for 30 years, so just take that.
So in this area, I say to him when it's getting ready to get real, you better shut those windows because the neighbors are ready to know what's about to happen in here.
Exactly.
And anybody who tries to deny that or act like that doesn't happen, don't be listening to this.
Listen, it's work, and that sometimes that means that we gotta get in this thing, like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Billy and I met, we were, gosh, just turning 20. We were engaged in 7 months and married 18 months later.
Okay.
So I was finishing college and he was already in his profession. He's a welder by background and he had worked for a private company, right? All this is super important because I had to go out and get the insurance. Back then, we didn't have your insurance. Your parents could keep you till
Right,
you're 26.
right, right.
And so my dad in the back of my ears, like, gotta have a job, gotta have a job. You're not gonna have insurance. And that was scary to me. My
Yeah,
parents were super middle class. I grew up in Jefferson Farms, right? So you heard me say earlier, sometimes I
Yeah,
got to keep that JF girl down, but whew, man, get me going. And she's coming
she's
out.
in there, she's
She's
in there.
coming out. And so, anyway, my dad was just very like, you have to go have a full time job because what most people don't know, which I love, and I love the industry and it makes a ton of money, is I did nails all through college.
I need you to get over here and do these nails, Nicole. What?
Oh, don't let me see a bad nail.
But let me put my hands down.
And you better know what the colors are for the fall and then the winter. Mm-mm. So,
Girl,
so,
okay.
when I do get these folks who like to write not nice things about me,
Yeah,
I think to myself, gosh, if you had just taken 2 minutes to really find out about who I am, then you would have known that the industry I lived in, the industry that helped my husband and I buy our first house at 21, was that I was doing nails.
right.
Now, I was doing nails, I was selling credit cards for MBNA, and I was in school full time.
She's
But,
out here. She's doing all of the things.
well, you know what? The best job you could ever have is cold calling. The
Really?
best, yeah, absolutely. There is nothing better for your ego than to get hung up on or to be cussed out or
It humbles you.
wow, right? And then to know that, because at that time, MBNA, you had like these bonus structures.
Yeah,
So for me, I say this all the time, I'm not competitive.
lies.
Okay, right. Let me
What do you
let me speak to myself about that.
yeah, what are we talking about?
So anyway, Billy and I were hustling. My husband has always tinkered with other things, not just his profession, right?
Yeah,
So we get married, we want to have a baby. I was raised
okay.
super Catholic, right?
Mhm.
So there weren't a lot of, it was the rhythm method.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm really going back in time, and I was
For
like,
those of y'all who don't know, Google that.
yeah, I was like, rhythm, we got some rhythm over here. We got some rhythm, but it's not connecting. Something's
Yeah,
not right.
yeah.
So I had taken a job literally out of college. My brother and my sister in law worked for a healthcare company. And my brother's like, I can do this. I should be doing this on my own. So keep in mind, I'm living in Wilmington, driving to Malvern, Pennsylvania. My
Little
brother
bit of a
decides
hike.
to start this company.
Mhm.
We, for non compete purposes, have to be 60 miles from that particular area. So
Okay.
my brother picks up, sells his home, and moves to New Jersey. So now I'm driving from Wilmington to Cherry Hill. Yeah,
Yeah, little bit
yeah.
of a hike.
Yeah, a little bit, but you know what? Like, there was a hustle to it, right?
Yeah,
There's something about being fulfilled in the jobs that you're doing,
yeah,
and that is one thing I absolutely live to,
yeah,
right? If you don't like what you're doing, then change it,
right.
and the
I
only
think
person holding it back is you.
I think here's the other thing about that too, is that you poured into your brother's dream. Right? Clearly, there you believed in him and you believed
Oh,
in what
yeah.
he was doing,
Hands
right? And
yeah,
and it was more than just saying, "Hey, I believe in you. Go do that." You
yeah,
were willing to put your resources behind making his dreams come true, and I think that that's an important call out
yeah.
too. So that's been on my heart lately, and I just wanted to say that. So, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
absolutely. Well, and I think also here's the thing. I went to St. Elizabeth's, again, the whole Catholic track, and I was not a great student. But part of it is because I was too busy socializing and
Not you.
spent a lot of time in the principal's office. Whoo, got a lot of detentions. Um, but but that is also a part of being successful,
Yeah,
right? And that's, we can talk about this in our conversation about how that there has to be that connection.
yeah,
Again, the cold calling, picking up a phone, right? You don't necessarily send a text like, "Hey, I'm sorry I screwed up."
yeah,
You pick up that phone so someone can actually hear you.
right,
I didn't mean what I said,
right,
or my intent in what I said was actually this. Like, I really
right,
screwed up,
right,
right?
right.
There's something about that sincerity of how you're
Yeah,
saying it versus that
absolutely.
unfeeling text that you get.
Mhm.
And tone. People interpret things so differently when they're reading it.
That part.
Absolutely, absolutely. So anyway, so here we are, fast forward. I dragged Billy to a fertility specialist. He always hates when I tell this story.
Sorry, Billy.
After 30 years, he's used to it, but I'm like, "Dude, it's deposit only. Like, we need to make sure you're good. Like, please, please don't let it be you because it's tougher to fix it if it's on
Yeah.
the male side.
Yeah.
Please let it be me, but my God, once again, I'm not measuring up.
Uh,
If I
mm,
if I For us, we always knew we wanted to be parents. And the
right.
great thing about my partner is during that journey, so we're 25 years old, we're keeping it a secret, but of course there's baby shower after baby
Right.
shower
Right. Right.
and people are like, "So, when are you guys having a baby?" I felt like saying, "Do you wanna know how many times we have sex too? Share that with you.
Look,
You wanna know
I'm
what we do? You want"
right.
right? Like, because let me
Yeah.
tell you something, it is not without effort, believe me,
Right.
or reading and all the things that you can possibly do. So
Right.
anyway, so we find a specialist at Crozier Chester Medical Center. And I tried to stay in Delaware at the time. My insurance wouldn't cover it. And even though I had a doctor who was so kind and said to me, I so want you guys to have a baby. Like I can feel it.
Yeah.
We'll worry about the cost in the end. And thank God my husband is very solid about dollars. He was like, we can't do this. He's like,
Yeah.
we'll lose our house. Like, no way. So,
Yeah.
anyway, we get this doctor. He takes my insurance and basically he says to me, it's you. Your
Mm.
endometriosis is so bad that the likelihood of you ever conceiving is pretty small.
Wow.
And my one tube was hooked to my bladder. So you can't
Oh my gosh.
get that undone. My other one, as they say, the fingers were really just in bad shape. So,
Yeah.
he's telling us all the things that we can do. I'm 25 years old. And so, at this point, I'm rolling into 26. And he says to me, we're going to do something because I believe in going every single step. So
Yeah.
if we do every single step, then, then I feel like if we have to go to IVF and IVF back then, oh my God, I was thinking to myself, we're going to have to take a loan out. We don't have
Right.
money for it.
Right. Right.
So anyway, we end up he put me in menopause. So I did menopause for 3 months, and let me tell you, that's a whole 'nother conversation.
Listen, do you
Do
see my
that
face?
Let's do that one because people don't talk about it, and
Right.
this is one I wanna say to, your inner circle girlfriends will talk about it, but this is when I'm like, "Let's all talk about it."
Right, 'c menopause is you are absolutely correct, and it's just one of those things that if you people are not talking about it until they get there, and then they're
Mhm.
like, "Oh my god, what is happening to me?" And then be like, "Is this normal? Is this what is Yeah, no, yeah, it's, yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy,
So
Nicole.
imagine being 26 years old, right?
I don't wanna imagine.
So for all the women that are listening, right? That green monster that starts in your belly and he starts coming up, coming up, coming up, and then all of a sudden you're just completely soaking wet. So
My god.
I'd be sitting in meetings because at the time, obviously it was a healthcare company that my brother had owned. And so I love the marketing part, of course, fits into my
Yeah,
world,
right.
right? It's kind of the same thing with nails. I loved the one on one. I
The
loved
talking, the
yeah, exactly.
socializing, the getting to know.
Exactly. So, I'd be in a meeting and I'd be like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I'm soaking wet, but I'm in menopause. And people would be like,
And they're like, "What is
yeah,
she talking
yeah,
about?"
basically. Cause imagine, I mean, Nicholas is going to be 27 January 1st. So we're
Oh
talking about a time
my god.
where, again, people aren't talking, but I thought, you know what? If I don't let it out, then it's not good for me mentally. It's not good for me
Right. Also, we
physically.
can see you.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, right. You can see me. So here's what I'm gonna say to you, is that God laughs at people who make plans. So at that time, we were talking about foster care.
Mm,
Billy was very, very much it was very hard for him. He was like, "I can't give a baby back, Nicole, and I will never be able to give a child back to someone who might have been the birth person, but
right.
doesn't wanna be a mom. Like, I
Absolutely.
don't know I can do that."
Right,
And
right.
so that was really tough times for us trying to figure out because we knew that we could do this well. We knew that we would love,
The
any baby.
parents, yeah,
Yeah,
like, literally through and through.
absolutely. And so went into an appointment. I had a whole bunch of eggs, couldn't breathe because I was all swelled up. And the nurse said to me, tapped me on the leg and said, I have a good feeling. And I thought at this point we were doing artificial insemination because it was a part of the process.
Right.
And believe me, up to that point, there was a lot of heartache, a lot of up and downs. And
Right.
women who have gone through the infertility journey know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Um, but you know what? It's a time that I don't go back and visit at all. I try
Yeah.
not to because it's definitely lonely. And again, that those insecurities just are screaming at you
Yeah. Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we ended up getting pregnant with Nicholas. So it was May of 1998. I can still tell you the outfit that I wore to this day when I
Love it.
found out. It was probably one of the most amazing things.
Magical.
Yeah, there was a difference between getting a call. I used to get the call at like 4 o'clock. So sorry. Sorry,
Yeah.
today it's not your day.
Yeah.
And that particular day, I had gotten a call at 12 o'clock, and I thought, God, my blood work's off, something's wrong. And
Right.
I pick up the phone and I just thought, this is going to ruin the rest of my day.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, hello. And they're like, congratulations. And I was like, congratulations for what? And so the journey starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is one thing that I so want to say, and I can't stress enough. There are two things in this world that people don't care about. People don't care about your health care, and they don't care about your paycheck.
Mm.
So if you are not an advocate of those 2
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
no one else is gonna care about it.
Nicole, you said something there.
Yeah.
That's a word. That's a word. Listen, when you started with the healthcare thing, that right there immediately, because that is a whole conversation in and of itself.
Oh, yeah. If you
Yeah.
don't know how to exercise your voice because
Yeah.
your insecurities hold you back,
Yeah.
find a friend,
Right.
right? And find someone that you trust or call your state senator, because again,
You know
people
you're about to get a bunch of phone calls right now.
that's
Go
what
ahead.
I'm in that area, bring it. I'll absolutely. So, anyway, I say that because you know when something's not right. And
Yeah.
my fertility specialist was amazing. He kept me until I was 15 weeks pregnant, which usually they turn you over before you're 3 months. You go to your
Mm.
regular OB. And my OB, which I will say to you, was an MIA guy. He just was never there.
Right.
And so it was a nurse practitioner who said to me at 27 weeks, I hadn't been feeling well. And I just always anticipated that. I mean, okay, let's be for real. I'm 5'1",
Mhm.
right? There's not a lot of space. So I wasn't that cute, beautiful woman.
Stop it.
No, it's okay.
Stop it.
I wish I had tagged pictures for you because you would be like, oh, wow. Wow.
She says she out here struggling. I don't have that motherly glow.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. I looked like I was 5 foot tall and 5 foot wide, right? Like, I mean, nothing. And it's not like I have the skin that bounces back, like, because, it looks like I went through a war. Yeah. And if I wasn't such a chicken, I'd get a tummy tuck, but I'm a chicken, so can't do it.
Listen, you look amazing.
Well,
Stop it. Go
you're
ahead.
kind, you're kind. So, anyway, so we end up at 27 weeks. She says to me, "Hey, listen, you're contracting this whole entire time." And I was like, "Yeah, I feel really bad, but I got a meeting in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I gotta go. I got a hospital's expecting me." At the time, there were a lot of revisions in Medicaid.
Yeah.
There were bills signed on a national level that our company was slowly going south.
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking about was, I can't let this happen.
Yeah.
Like, this is everything. We have 200 employees, right?
Yeah.
Like, how does this happen?
Right.
And so, anyway, it was December 8th. And thank God for my dad. I had called and said, "Oh, this is crazy. I got this nurse telling me that I'm in labor. I have to get to Cherry Hill and I have to do," like, I'm running through my list of things. And my dad said to me, "I can't get in your house, Nicole," because my dad was going to our house because why? We had waited so long to have this baby, and all I wanted to do was the baby room. So
Yeah.
you can imagine, a
Right.
lot of moms have done this. And so we were having stuff delivered.
Yeah.
And my dad said, "I can't get in your house." And ironically, we were having a problem with our lock. So I'm mad at him that he can't figure it out. And so I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to drive back home and then I'm gonna have to drive to Cherry Hill. And, I'm like the whole entire time. So
Mhm.
I get to the
Mhm.
house and he's in the house. I'm like, "What are you doing in the house?" I'm like, "You could have called me and I could have went to work." And he said, "No, we're going to the hospital."
Yeah. See,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So he did. Thank God he did. I spent 28 days in what they call Trendelenburg, which is up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was in and out of ICU. Um, Nicholas was. It was definitely a journey. Like I said, there are some things we don't go back to visit, but you just know it.
Right.
Um, so I had 6 roommates in the hospital, and
Stop it.
all of them gave birth next to me as I'm still holding on to the pregnancy. So, it was I would call Billy in the middle of the night, and
This
I'd
is a
be so
time. You are having a whole time.
oh, yeah, he'd be like, "Oh my god, Nicole," I'm like, "We have to do something. We have to get a private room. I can't have another roommate." Like, these women are hysterical. I'm
Right.
hysterical with them. I
Right.
can't help them because I'm upside down in my
This
own
is an
bed.
emotional roller coaster that is happening here on so many levels.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, there's a piece of me that when I went into labor on New Year's Eve and delivered Nicholas, at the time, they kept saying, "Oh, we're gonna have poor baby will be number 1 of 1999." And I said to Billy, "Oh, no. He will never be number 1. He won't be number 1 because I won't go home with a baby. So we have to do everything that we can to make this happen." So I had a substitute doctor who had gone to a New Year's Eve party. Yeah. So when she came in and checked Nicholas, she said, "Oh, he broke your water and it'll just be no time at all. I'm going to go take a little nap."
Stop
So, yeah.
it.
So at 6 o'clock, about 5:30, 6 o'clock, Nick's heart rate was dropping to nothing. They went and woke her up. She came in.
I can't with this.
She realized that he had not broken my water. And he was just hitting into my water. He just was so tiny that when she broke the water, he gave me a 4.5-degree tear. So it would have been much easier to have a C-section for sure.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. So Nicholas he did great. I held him. He was on a respirator for a very short period of time. I should have listened to myself. I should
Right.
have said to
Oh,
that young girl, "You didn't feel well." So anytime I see a pregnant woman, if they say, "Oh, I'm tired," I'm like, "Go home and rest. It's okay. It's a short period of time in your life. It is a short period of
yeah.
time in your life."
Yeah.
And so your job is all about that baby. It's okay to take some time for the 2 of you. So Nicholas was 3.5 pounds, 15 inches long. And 28 days, he was diagnosed with something called periventricular leukomalacia,
That's a
PVL for
mouthful.
short.
Mhm.
And it is basically falls under the umbrella of cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
So I will answer the question that everybody always wants to know, right?
Okay.
Did you sue? And my brother, being an attorney by background, would say to me, "Nicole, you don't know what your life's going to look like." And I said, "You're absolutely right. We are living day by day.
Right.
We can't get past day by day." Right.
Right.
So now here's the funny part of all this, because there is actually humor in all of this, right? One, I came home with a baby, right? Even though I had Father Baumgartel. So for all the Catholics out there that might be listening, Father Baumgartel has since passed, but he used to show up at the hospital and he would say to me, "Can I baptize him, Nicole?" And I would say, "Nope, can't baptize him. Can't have you baptize him. If you baptize him here, I'll never bring him home. I
Mm.
need to make sure that we are home before we do this."
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I wish we had, but anyway, so fast forward, I say to people, I don't know how it happened. I do. But basically, when you are in the midst of tragedy, you figure I'd been in the hospital for a long time. The connection between my husband and I was not there, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm the fixer,
Right.
right? So I need to fix what's broken. We don't know what's broken. We can't even understand what it is,
Yeah.
except we're not making milestones. So, but what happens? We obviously were fooling around. And
Yeah.
so who ends up pregnant when your baby is on a heart monitor in a bouncy seat at 4 months old?
But these are blessings. You do. Yep. Yep.
Yes.
Doing the impossible.
So yeah,
The impossible is becoming possible. Yes.
absolutely. God laughs
Yeah.
at people who
Yep.
make plans.
Yep.
And so I did 3 months on bed rest in Christiana Hospital
Okay.
with my daughter.
Yeah.
And so that was a whole journey in itself. She came literally 13 months later. And
You had stair-step babies.
oh, like nothing like rocking it out. So back to the whole point of did you sue?
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, listen, I was trying to figure out how to like my husband again. The
Yeah.
guy who was so important to me before we had these babies. And now the pressure again, the insecurities of like, how do I keep our family together? And I can't
Yeah.
fix what's broken. And now we have this new baby. And do I have enough love for everyone? Can we do this?
Yeah.
And my husband would come home and he would be like, "We got this. Here, I'm gonna help you, give the kids a bath, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna do that." And just was honestly like at a time where, things could really go south.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so my
A
brother
partner.
says to me, statute of limitations are running out, Nicole. And I said to him, Stephen, money's never going to give us what we need. I can't get back what we lost that night. And you know what? Maybe it's meant to be because it makes us work harder for what we
Mm.
have. And so, as it turned out, there were some other lawsuits that this OB had had, and my request was that she wouldn't deliver any more babies. I didn't want to take anything from her, but I also didn't want her to have this option again.
Yeah, to take anything from anybody else too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
As a young person, not understanding what was our lives were going to be like. So,
Okay, so wait a minute. I gotta pause you right there. I think the next obvious question is, knowing what you know now,
mm,
would you have done it the same or would you have chosen a different
I would do
route?
it exactly the same way.
Okay.
Money was never gonna
Okay.
fix what was broken here.
Yeah.
You know where the hard parts are is that Nick is 26 and it wasn't until and again, these are things that people they hear she's a senator.
Yeah.
She runs a nonprofit. Can she run a nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
No one asks me what my background is. No one
Right. Right.
gives any moment to that piece of it,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, so but it wasn't until last year that we could finally afford an accessible van
Yeah.
because people don't know that they start
Right.
75,000.
Right. Right.
It's a 2014 van. It doesn't matter. That baby gets us around
That's what it needs to
and
do.
it does
That's
right.
what it needs to do.
But up until that point, I used to have like a SUV that I could lift a power
Yeah.
chair up, put it in the back of the car. Um,
Nicole, I can't with you. I think listen, I also there's you're saying some I feel we're gonna have to do like 90 parts to this. Seriously. Um, you know, that there's something to be said about the thoughtfulness of whether or not to sue, right? Some people immediately are like, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna get this payday, you know what I mean? But what does it really mean? What is your motivation behind it? Where is this actually going? And for lack of a better does this person and I say deserve, and maybe that's not the right word to use, but does that accomplish anything by suing or taking from this?
yeah.
And everybody that's a question that everybody's got to answer for themselves, right? And I think but I don't think that people spend time going through and having that reflective thought process.
Mhm.
Should I do this? Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Or maybe you should, but
Yeah.
I think that there's a blessing in really working towards
Mhm.
an answer that aligns with your values and is the right thing,
Yeah.
right? Is the right thing to do, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense to everybody else. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, again, back then, and I understood the statute of limitations. I
Yeah.
understood that. So we certainly had to explore it. But I guess for us, and there's a grieving process.
Absolutely.
There is, again, I say this all the time. God laughs at people who make plans. We
Yeah.
had big plans for that first baby, right?
Right. Right.
We knew what his life was going to be like.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was supposed to be that it was the way it turned out.
Yeah.
And as much as I struggle with my own faith, and I have no problem saying it, I say it often. And thank God I have a lot of good people around me who don't
Yeah.
mind saying prayers for me.
Right.
And when I
Right.
do say to people, like I said a prayer for you today, I'm sincere about it.
Yeah.
because that's an effort for me. Um,
So I'm gonna tell you a little joke right
yeah,
there, just for a second. Okay, so we in the Black community, when we say, "Oh, I'm praying for you," that was the prayer right there. Me saying, "I'm praying for you."
re- really.
I ain't said no prayer. I just said, "I'm praying for you." That's the prayer. That was it right there. Boom. You're welcome.
Okay.
I'm glad, Nicole, you actually legitimately saying a prayer.
hmm Absolutely. Just a little like, I know you don't want to hear from me because I know I haven't been a great Catholic. So here we are.
Man, that's not even true. Prayers are
Yeah.
always welcome to receive. Stop. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, listen, to each its own.
Yeah.
There's a grief process. And for some people, that that particular lawsuit or whatever
Yeah.
journey they have to take is a part of their process.
Yeah.
For us at a time in our lives, how could I be for me, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, God blessed us with another baby.
Yeah.
How does this happen?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, literally, we had never used a home pregnancy test. We look like two idiots trying to read the directions the morning that I said, "Do you think I could be pregnant?" He was like,
Yeah.
"After all the money we spent," and
You said absolutely not.
keep in mind, at that point, we were more than $1,000,000 in debt,
Oh my God.
of medical debt, of medical debt.
This
So,
is making me wanna throw up.
1 car. We were down to 1 car. We like so my husband's out cutting people's lawns at
This
night.
is making me sweat. The idea of being, that far into, I'm like, "Oh
Yeah,
my God."
it's it it's not anything that I mean, Nicholas in itself, that's not even including me being in the hospital, right?
Right.
And at that point, Billy was like, "You can't go back to work. Like, we need to fix this." And
Yeah.
so, but thankfully, my parents and God bless the people that use childcare, need childcare, and the expense of it, and then the people on the other end who own the business that are
Yeah.
trying to pay people, and it's just such a vicious circle.
Cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my parents were great. My parents had retired, and I said to my mom, "It's important for Billy and I don't want him to come home and all I'm doing is complaining about what I couldn't get done,
Yeah.
and I need to fill my cup. My
Yeah.
kids fill my cup, but I need to fill my cup and I need to be a we were a partner. We had a
Mhm.
partnership when we got married, and now I leave all the burden on him, and that partnership
Mm.
it's tough. So,
Yeah.
let me just say this. It all works itself out. A few years after that, we had another baby. He is turning 21 in a week.
She's like, it just the
Yeah.
blessing.
So, I feel like, our plan was already written and this is what we
Yeah.
were supposed to do. But, my partner in crime, when all my shenanigans, like, hey, listen, I got a call. Someone wants me to run for state senate. Or, hey, I want to leave the healthcare industry. I want to stay in the healthcare industry, but I'm tired of making money here. I want to
Right.
go do something. So I went to exceptional care for children.
Mm.
And if no one,
Sharing all your things.
yes, if anyone is hearing me, exceptional care for children is just a magical place, and I can guarantee you, you won't get through it without needing a box of tissues
It's
because
in the name. It's exceptional.
absolutely. Oh, that is great. Oh, yes,
It's in
absolutely.
the name. It's in the
It
name.
is fantastic, and it's right in Newark. It's a long-term care pediatric facility for kids who are on
Mm.
trachs and G tubes and a lot of medical care, but not acute care to be in a hospital,
Right.
but like a nursing home.
Long term.
Yeah,
Long
yeah.
term.
And
Yeah.
these nurses and volunteers, they love these kids. Love, love,
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
So I did that for a little period of time, and then I had a specialty that I had helped create in the healthcare world, and DuPont was looking for something similar to that. And, so I went back into the corporate world and did that for 5 years. Um, so yeah, I have a cool little history and
A
yeah.
journey, but it all leads to, and it's all purposeful, and it builds who you are and where you are and what you're able to do and why you're able to do it. And I think that, it's like, don't despise, excuse me, do not despise small beginnings, right? And don't, I think a lot of times we're so focused on the future and like, oh, I want that. And we're not really 100% present in where we are.
Mhm,
And one, why this moment is meaningful,
mhm.
to the moment, but also how this moment builds into the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And that so all of it matters and is important. Um, so you actually said something. First of all, thank you for sharing your story because that was incredible. And there's, like I said, we could do a 90-part series because there's so many things in there. Like, okay, let's just talk about just this part. Okay, let's just talk about this part. Um, but I want to, keep the momentum going here. Um, you talked about, being a mom and going through that, being a partner and uh, just stepping away from that partner role, but also feeling like there's a level of fulfillment there, right?
Mhm.
There's a fulfillment in being a mom, there's a fulfillment in being a partner. You obviously went into, being a senator, so that's a community service piece of it, and there's fulfillment there of how wearing all of these hats,
Mhm.
right? And stepping into all these spaces and having purpose in
Mhm.
all of those spaces. How are you um deciding how to shift, balance, show up fully in those places in order for you to be fulfilled? It's like weird. I think like people go like, "Oh, you're a mom, that should be enough."
Mm.
Or you're in a
Right.
corporate space, that should be enough.
Mhm.
Or you're in government, that should be enough. And to say, no, actually, I exist in all of these places,
Mhm.
right? All of these places matter to me. They, as a compilation, they make up the fullness of who I am.
Yep.
And just like, what does that look like? And how have you wrestled with that?
Yeah. I think so I was about 38 at the time when I went to exceptional care for children, right? And Billy was like, "Oh God, Nicole, like you're VP of a," and at this point my brother had sold the company years prior. So I had
Yeah.
stayed on, and here
Oh,
I'm a VP of a national organization,
right.
and he's like, "You're going to do this." And I said, "What are we teaching our kids? We're not teaching them anything. We're teaching them that we can make money, but we're not teaching them how to give back." And it's
Mm,
so important. We live in
yeah.
this world, we straddle the world of disability and the world of typical children.
Right.
And I want them to know that life is not just about the monetary things. I want them to have a sense of we have to give back.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into this nonprofit world because these kids, I can raise money. I can I can do it and I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with it, right? And so I want to tell their story. And
Mm,
what I did was I had bounced off a friend and had gone down to Legislative Hall and basically I had done a whole marketing plan of the Joint Finance Committee,
that's you.
right? And I was like, "Oh yeah, let me explain to you. So this child lives here,
Yeah.
but you have people who vote for you here.
Right.
And let me explain to you why it's so important." They had Miss Grant and Aid. Dennis E. Williams, who was the former mayor of Wilmington,
Hmm.
was the chair of joint finance. And it took me all day to get to him. And when he finally met with me, it is the funniest story. He's like, "I hear you've been looking for me." I said, "I didn't come down here for chump change. I came down here for some real money."
For some
Right?
real money, sir. Let's get it.
Exactly. "Oh, and by
Yeah.
the way, we missed the deadline." He was like, "And you think I'm gonna help you?" I'm like, "Oh, let me explain to you how this is gonna work." And so we had a great conversation. He invited me to sit down. 2 hours later, he was like, "I think someday I'm gonna work with you."
Mm,
And I was like, "Probably not, but thank you." And so as it would be a few years later, I get a call, "Would you like to run for state senate?" And I'm like, I can't on this show tell you exactly what I said
okay.
because I was like, "Yeah, no." But I called my husband.
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is crazy. I got this call. Like, how funny is this?" And
Yeah.
he was dead silent.
He was like, "Funny where?"
Yeah, because here I'm working for DuPont. I'm traveling all over the United States, right?
Yeah.
I'm going into these plants. I'm basically doing RFPs. I'm saving them money. I'm right.
Right.
I'm hustling in this industry. And he says to me, "Nicole, it is exactly who you are."
Right.
And I was like, I said, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "This is going to change our whole family dynamics." And he said to me, "It is who you are." He's like, "We're doing it." He said,
Yeah.
just so it took me about 3 months to really hear,
Wrap your mind around it.
yeah, and to like really invest in, am I the right person?
Yeah.
Would I be the right person to do the right job?
also good to be self-reflective in these spaces.
And I have to tell you, I mean, honestly, Autumn, there are votes sometimes that I've had to take that have hurt me straight in the heart. But guess
Right.
what? You, as a legislator, are not voting for yourself anymore.
Yeah.
You are voting for the people who are telling you what's important to them.
That's an interesting fact that go ahead, I'm listening, but
Yeah.
that's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, when I hear people say, "Oh, vote your conscience," I'm like, okay, well, my conscience isn't what got me into office. It was the people who trusted that I would do the right thing. And so
Yeah.
that's why I'm always like, hey, listen, I need to hear from you. I give out my cell number. I need to hear from you. If you
Yeah.
send me an email, and I this is for all my colleagues who were in this particular space, is if you send us an email in May and it's a hot topic and we're getting ready to be in our last month, which is June,
Mhm.
you have to understand, people, the activists will turn on from across the country.
Right.
We could
Right.
get thousands of emails that one email that someone needed help, my insurance company's not listening to me.
Right.
And I'm like, right?
Yeah.
That email gets pushed down. And by the time I get to it, I might have missed something. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, listen, here's my cell number.
Yeah.
Text me and like, let me see what I can do to help you. I always wanna give, I always wanna solve it, and sometimes I can't, but
Correct.
but I will do my best. So for me, I wanted my kids to want to do more. I wanted them to be kind. I wanted them to be gracious. I wanted them to be okay with having an opinion, but also okay with accepting an opinion.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I say there are definitely things out there that I don't agree with. But if there's a
All of
good,
them.
yeah, but that doesn't make someone a bad human being
Right. Right.
because that's what they believe in.
Yeah.
But I wanna have a good debate too, and don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at me.
We love a good debate. We'd love a
Yes,
good debate.
yes.
So I'm gonna let you finish and get back to it because again, I want you to really expound on how you have wrestled with finding this fulfillment in all these spaces. Because I think that people are in general are wrestling with that, trying to show up and be who they are supposed to be, and absolutely being a father or a mother, being
Mhm,
a husband or a wife, being, but also like being the things that I need,
mhm,
right? As a human, as a person, as Autumn, as Nicole, as John, as Jerry, as whoever. Um, that there are things that are very specific to your heart that
mhm,
need to also be fulfilled. And sometimes. So let me put it this way, because somebody explained it to me this way, and I see if you agree. It's almost like, by somebody, I say my mom. If I do not give her credit, dear God, I will hear about it. What do you mean? Somebody told you that? I told you that? Yeah, my mother. Okay,
love it.
that your life is like a pie, right? And you have these
Mhm,
different slices, and it's like mom pie, wife pie, whatever, all these different things, friend pie, and that at different times the slices change sizes.
mhm,
It's not that the slices disappear, but like when your kids are young, maybe the mom pie is like slice is super big because that's what's necessary, but there's still work, wife,
yes.
this, that, and the others. And then as your kids get older, that slice gets a little bit smaller, and then this slice gets a little bit bigger. And so it's always sort of managing the dynamic of how large that particular slice is.
Yep.
Would you agree?
Your mom is spot on.
Don't give her too much credit, Nicole, dear God.
Spot on. It is so true. It is so
Yeah,
true. There are things in our lives that pull us at different times. You know what's so great? So let's just real quickly talk about the girlfriend piece of this.
yeah,
And this was kind of the conversation I was having with these 2 amazing women last night about,
yeah,
like, let's not show up for one another and then turn around and beat each other up.
mm,
Or, right?
yeah,
Let's show
right,
up and be really there for them. And
yeah,
so when your life pulls you in different ways, there's always, it's so great to have those friends that you don't miss a beat.
you're right,
It could be years, but you pick up the
right,
phone, you're like, "Hey," and you don't miss a beat.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Like, that's to me what's most important. Like, I have a stellar girlfriend that she knows I go MIA in months of session, right? But you know what, though? She makes me show up at the gym.
she keeps you accountable.
Lee Kendis, yep, I'm gonna say her name.
Okay, so now we are gonna get into political.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Because I think that's a good space to get into. Holding each other accountable is a good space to talk about. So, not to get into like any specific thing, right? I just want to sort of talk globally about just the climate and the environment.
Mm,
So just for context with myself, I don't really, so that you know the audience that you're speaking to directly with me, I don't really consider myself a Republican or a Democrat.
okay.
I I consider myself a Christian. I believe God and I
Mhm.
believe the values and the, principles
Mm,
that are rooted in that. And wherever that aligns, right? Because I think that there's some principles that are Christian principles that are fall very much in a democratic space,
yes.
right? We talk about taking care of the orphan and the widow and you know what I mean,
Mhm.
those kinds of things. And I think that there's some values and principles that fall very much in the Republican or conservative,
Mm,
right, space. And so I can't say that I'm like 100% here or 100% there. And quite honestly, I think that most people fall somewhere in the middle. You have some of these extremes, but for most part, people kind of, depending on what the topic is, kind of vacillate back and forth.
yep.
So I don't think that that's anything that's like really a crazy thing to say. So when I went to school, I majored in history. And so I very much am like rooted and grounded in this idea of critical thinking and ideas. And because I think history is really truly just the study of humanity,
Yeah.
of human psychology, of human nature, of, relationships and those that's to me, that's all history is.
Absolutely.
And so marrying Christianity with that is this like I really value people
Mhm.
and I really value the quality of life and the human experiences and to my very core, right?
Mhm.
The idea of justice, of love, of community, of just grace and mercy.
Mhm.
And those things are like I don't know how to separate myself in any capacity from those things.
Okay.
And so I struggle when we hear these different political platform, you know what I mean? And those things are not incorporated in. Those things are not right. We're talking policy, we're talking money, we're talking, you know what I mean? Like what and I'm like, what about the people? Like
Mhm.
everything that we're talking about affects people.
Yeah.
It's not entities. It's not this like imaginary sort of, you know, ideas that are sort of floating in the air. We are talking about very real people. And how do we talk so cavalierly or so harshly or whatever about things that are going to affect and are affecting very real people in their day-to-day lives? So how do we get back to that's like I got a lot of questions. So I just want to give you some context. One my is like how do we get back to that? How do we get back to grounding those kind of conversations
Yeah.
back into the humanity that it's
Mhm.
truly about, right?
Mm,
That's the first thing. The second thing is I think that I personally feel like a lot of people spend a lot of time looking at federal
mhm.
and that's fine,
Yes.
right? But state is like so important for
Yep.
your like literal day to day. When
Yes.
you talk about like what is really truly going to be affecting me going to the grocery store and coming back, like what
Mhm.
is the school that my
Mhm.
kid goes to, like that's all local.
Yeah.
And people don't spend enough time, I think, really looking at that aspect.
Yep.
And so again, how to ground us, but how to ground us also in looking at our local politics
Yep.
and really being more uh aware in that space versus just sort of these federal conversations or these larger national conversations.
Okay. So let me start by saying that people today are getting their information straight from social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't always allow you to formulate your own opinion.
Yeah.
Your opinion has already been delivered based on whatever has been said.
Algorithms. Yeah.
I feel that we have a responsibility to educate as much as we possibly can, but not at the level that benefits us per se.
Mm.
So there are people that utilize social media for the views, for the attention,
Yeah.
or whatever they want their platform to be. We all do it. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
Like I
Right.
post, right? Like I want you to know that I'm working for you. I want
Yeah.
you so when you see me at 6 different events, it's because I want you to know that whatever those topics are, I'm listening to it, right?
Right.
Showing
Right.
up. Um,
Okay.
in this job, let me just say this to you. I could be invited to a gala probably once a month.
Lord, we love our galas.
Yes. And here's the thing, they're fun. What people don't realize when they're running for office is that you still have to buy a dress for it. No one's
Right.
buying you a dress.
Right.
No one
Right.
is putting your makeup on for you. That is your responsibility,
Yeah.
right? So then it becomes your choice of whether or
Mhm.
not you're going, right?
Right.
In case anybody wants to see, you'll see me in the same navy dress over and over. You might see me in
Now
the
I'm
same
getting
black
ready
dress.
now I'm getting ready to go back and look at your dresses, Nicole.
Listen, I was just at the Brandywine Valley SPCA gala, right? And they were doing, gosh, now I'm drawing a blank to the theme. And I know I wore the dress probably 2 years ago, and I had to laugh because my daughter sent a text and said, "Not a pretty dress." I'm like, "Thanks."
You see your own kids.
Right? And then she's like, "And why are you squinting your eyes like that? Stop squinting your eyes." I'm like, "I'm really?" Anyway, so social media is driving
Yeah.
opinions. And so that's the first thing. The second
Okay.
thing is in Delaware, I can only speak for Delaware, right?
Right.
In Delaware, um, I think because people are able to have conversations with their legislators, whether they know it or not,
Yeah.
right? You're going to see me at Lowe's.
Right.
Right? You're gonna see me with my hair not washed. You're gonna see
Yeah.
me at the gym. I'm gonna sweat next to you.
Right.
All of those things are gonna happen in real time because
Yeah.
we are real people. But at the end
Mhm.
of the day, I can also separate that out and say, okay, what crisis are we walking into? What is it that
Yeah.
we need to do? I will also say is that we cannot legislate ourselves out of everything.
Mm.
And
Okay.
you cannot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes you have to have a good throwdown argument.
Conversation.
You need to
There
bring
it is.
everybody to the table.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example. I had a piece of legislation that had come to me. It's a good consumer bill.
Uh-huh.
And so I won't go into all the details about it, but I had introduced it, and I have to tell you, my phone blew up from the other side. My goodness gracious. I was a busy, busy, busy beaver all weekend long regarding this bill about, like, oh my God, where'd this come from? And I said,
Right.
well, your industry's doing this. No, no, we're not. No, we're not. But there was so much conversation around it that the group that I was talking to about this bill, and I said, listen, I know that you want this bill to go through, but I think this is a larger conversation.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
there's amazing people. And they were like, okay. I'm like, all right, so I'm going to table the bill for right now. They're like, okay. So we all met in August, and sitting around that table, that required an agency to be there, required, attorneys to be there,
Yeah.
required the industry to be there. The industry was like, hmm, I didn't I didn't realize that my company had done this, but I need to go back and look at this. Like, are you okay if I go
Okay.
back and have the conversation?
Right.
Of course. Like, I
Yeah.
want you to, because honestly, at the end of the day, the agency said, well, I feel like we might be able to just tweak this. And the industry was like, okay, if we're doing it, then maybe we need to have a conversation about how we're doing it. And let
Absolutely.
me tell you why it's effective in the process of us doing
Right.
this. It
Right.
means that
Right.
people get their payout sooner versus
Mhm.
later. And so
The good, bad, and the ugly. Yeah. Yeah.
rather than saying, nope, I'm gonna run with this.
Right.
So
Right.
it's that type of stuff. I really do firmly believe. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times that you do need to run legislation. I will talk about the predators in the state of Delaware. I will
Yeah.
talk about I am in my full-time job at Jobs for Delaware Graduates. Uh, we are interacting with so many kids in the state of Delaware, and I am a firm believer of partnering with other
Mhm.
organizations, because if I can't save every child, I
Yeah.
wanna know that another organization.
Connection of resources. How can we pull these things together? We cover more ground.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get our students to be our next workforce?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about career pathways, but let's also talk about exploring who they could be. Because,
Yeah.
Autumn, are you doing exactly what you thought you'd be doing at 17?
No, not even close.
So, to your audience, let me just
It's not
ask the
even close.
question. Are you doing exactly what you thought you were going to do at
Right.
17, at
Right.
21, at 30,
But
at 40? I mean, I'll tell you, I'm 52 years old. So I've been a senator.
looking amazing.
Well,
Looking 42.
you're very,
Go ahead.
so, what I would say to you though is that I've had such great opportunity. And part of that is because of the networking, right?
Yeah.
Like, tell me, what do you do for a living? How are you doing this? Like, how did you do it? How did you get here? Because I really am interested.
Yeah.
But that's usually when you get people saying, well, you don't need a license for this because you could do an apprenticeship.
Right, right. Then we start problem solving. We start solutioning and problem solving these things
So
by sharing information.
sharing information and limiting the legislation. Like we were able, I think we did 3 pieces of legislation, and myself and Eric Buxton, Senator Buxton. So like we worked across the aisle,
Yeah.
right? Which
Yeah.
is what we should do. So not to draw this out, but going back to your whole point of like, how are we where we are? How do we
Yeah.
make it? How do we, for those who were kind of stuck in the middle, trying to figure out, you want to live with your values and your
Yeah.
faith,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but you're hitting my
How do we talk?
pocketbook.
Yeah.
You're hitting my pocketbook, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
I have to remind people, I'm a taxpayer too.
Yeah.
I live here too. So
Yeah.
it is just as important to me as it is you. And so, but now how do we work for it? Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about reassessments. Ah,
Oh my God, Nicole. These reassessments, these property. Okay. Okay. Couple things with this. Also, Delaware is a little bit spoiled. And I say spoiled, it's amazing here. And I don't want to say spoiled as in this is not the way that it should be, but I'm saying that we are living in existence here that is not necessarily happening all over the
yeah.
country, right? So I'm originally from California. I've lived in Texas. I'm about to move back to Texas.
Mm,
I was looking at Jersey is right up the street. The taxes are like out of
yeah.
control in some of these places. I'm like, bro, are we serious?
Yeah.
So Delaware, we've been really kind of sheltered from that.
Yeah.
And so I know in comparison to ourselves, we're like, what? Um, but in comparison to other places, we're killing it. So these reassessments have gotten everybody in like a crazy uproar. And I'm not advocating like saying one way or the
Yeah.
other, but it's just, you're right. This is a thing.
So, but here's the thing. So let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So a piece of it is that the education part has been completely gone. It's
Right.
missing, right?
Right.
So I was at a community meeting the other night, and it is amazing. Like I was like, how many of you understand where we are today? Like,
Yeah.
and I ask it sincerely because I don't want to tell you something that you already know, but I
Absolutely.
right? And so the room, very gracious, was like, well, some people, yes, no. I'm like, how many of you are from Delaware? And half
Right.
of the room was like, I've been here my whole entire life. The other half are new to Delaware
Great points. Yeah.
within 15 years, right?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so you came from somewhere else that you definitely, you had a sales tax and you had higher taxes.
That's
Okay.
me.
So let's just put a pin in that, right?
Yeah.
So I said, schools did referendums and people get
Mhm.
upset about referendums. If we don't have, if we are not investing in our schools, then your crime rate is higher.
Yeah.
Talk about that, right?
Mhm.
Because kids aren't
Yeah.
there, they're not doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
And um and so then, so you're working with that. You have the fact that we haven't done reassessments in 43 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that that's what people don't know. They don't know that part, right?
Exactly. And so I keep trying to, at least for me, what I say to people is there's no one at fault here. The county's
Uh-huh.
not at fault. The schools aren't at fault. The legislature's not at fault.
Yeah.
Collectively, though, we all have to work together.
Yeah.
Collectively, we have to figure out how to make it better because what happened was in the school systems, because referendums were failing, you had a group of folks who went and sued the school districts.
Mhm.
that said that the court system had to make a decision. And the
Yeah.
court system said, well, you will do reassessments. Now,
Mm.
I will say personally, I'm not a fan of Tyler Technologies,
Yeah.
right? And I could give a ton of examples why, but we are where we are. And
We
so
are where we
now,
are.
yep. So now we have to figure out how do we make it work for everyone? Like
Right.
how do we find the right solutions? And so you have these rates that have come out. And in late spring, we know that the county said, oh, we can do a split rate between commercial and residential, non-residential, right? Which is
Mhm.
why there was only a small increase for homeowners.
Yeah.
And,
Right, right.
good for our county executive, Marcus Henry. God, I love him. I mean, like, he really is trying to do a really great job in
Yeah.
a time where it's unprecedented of what we need to do. So
Yeah.
you have that piece of it. And then you have the school systems who said, I didn't know we could do a split rate. We need someone to tell us we can do it. We need
Some
the authority
education
to do
around it.
it. And that is where you saw the larger increases. You also
Yeah.
saw that because 40 years ago, there was a piece of legislation that said the schools have a one time opportunity to go up to 10%, okay,
Mm.
in that
Okay.
only one time when you're in reassessment time. So that should hopefully stop the referendums, right?
So
Because you're
so
hedging your bet.
yeah. So let me say something here, Nicole. Look,
Yeah.
okay, because this is really interesting. Number one, I think, and I want to say this: Alex Hackett, City
Hmm.
Council for
Hmm.
Wilmington, amazing job at doing this.
Hmm.
On his platform, he is creating reels. So shout out to you, Alex. He's creating reels that take these complex ideas
Yes.
or these complex things, and he's shortening them down to 30 seconds to explain to people what is happening, where it is, where they can find it, right? Because all of these things, right? Who know? How would I know? Oh, 40 years ago, and there was this law, and then this, and
Yep.
da, da. And so, like, right, requiring me as a citizen to figure out and put this thing together, right? That's really what I'm looking
Hmm.
at my representative, my senator, my county exec, my mayor, whoever. I'm
Yes.
looking for you to do that for me,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so I think maybe you can agree I don't think that our reps are doing a great job at doing that,
Yeah.
taking these complex things and making them simple for people.
Yeah.
I think that another piece of that, people may be a little bit distrusting because it's like, are you only giving me the things that you want me to know? And
Right.
and that's a totally different conversation. But I think here's the other piece about it. I look at I look at my tax, and I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So I've been at different parts of the spectrum as far as tax brackets
Hmm.
in my life.
Yeah.
Right. So I've been at the very bottom of the tax bracket where I was like food stamps tax
Right.
bracket,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I've been at the top right where I am right now where, I'm like, where are all my taxes going? Like, I'm like, where is my okay? So both sides of this and everywhere in between. What I've come to realize for myself is I don't mind paying taxes.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I can see my taxes at work. When I feel like my taxes are going to things that, like, just to give an example, I was in Boston this last weekend, and I mean, when I say that city is not only beautiful,
Mhm.
but it's also very you can see how they were very
Mm.
intentional about creating space that made sense for the citizens that live there.
Right.
Okay. So this is not a haphazard, just sort of, you hear. It's like everything from how the city looks to
Mhm.
how it's laid out to the transportation to the cleanliness of it to everything to really make your living experience here. So is it more expensive to live in Boston? Yeah. Do I understand why? And am I okay paying that to live there? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Because I look around and I'm like, yeah. Now I don't know what the schools are like in Boston or whatever, but let's just hypothetically speaking say the kids are graduating and they're doing really well. That you know what I mean? All this. Then I go, yep. I'm okay with high property tax. I'm okay with referendums for school. I'm okay with all these things because I see it.
Right.
Now when I come someplace else, and let's just be, you know what I mean, if we're like have the conversation,
Yeah.
if my taxes are gonna go up and if I'm gonna pay these referendums, but these kids can't read, now I'm mad
Yeah.
because I'm spending all this money and I'm like, what are we talking about
Yeah.
right now? Right. So I think I 100% agree with you that government's got to do what it's got to do. The laws got to be what they got to. We got to be reasonable. Properties haven't been assessed in 40 years. That's not reasonable.
Right.
Like, stop it already,
Right.
right? So that I 100% get that piece. I also get it on the other side where it's like, okay, I'm cool with this. I also want to see on this side
Hmm.
of the fence, right? I want to see if referendums, if these schools are getting this money, why can these kids not read? Like that's a real
Absolutely.
what are you using the money for? Like, where is it going? What are we doing? And here's the thing. I'm not saying that stuff's not happening.
Yeah.
To your point, tell me. Talk to me about
So I feel like we hear this not doing well, right?
mhm, mhm.
I don't know that I hear it from the parents. I hear it
Okay.
from the masses.
Okay.
Oh, you're the worst in the country.
Yeah.
Well, what about the kids that have graduated from high school and they are
Mhm.
going on to college? We're not hearing that. I send out letters to a lot of kids. Congratulations on making dean's list at college.
Yeah.
Congratulations for what you're doing. What about the student that says, I I want to go work. I don't want to
Yeah.
go to school, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I don't know that we're hearing from that group because and I'm
That's
not
the
saying listen,
conversation.
I am not saying that there aren't kids that can't read. I am not saying that
Yeah.
we are not proficient in that. So let me make sure I'm clear about that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I'll use Appoquinimec, right? They
Mhm.
are the amount of growth that has taken place in Middletown, the
Off the
amount
hook.
of homes that I am going to have in the next 2 years south of the
Yeah.
canal that is
Yeah.
in the process of building. You don't have enough space to keep up
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that, right? And so in my mind, when I'm thinking about Appoquinimec, they're also trying to keep up. And also let me just say, these teachers love Appoquinimec. And they are not
Yeah.
even at the higher pay scale.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like, again, you walk into a school I was in a school this past week, principal's like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "Hi, how are you?" And, "Do you come walk through the school?" And I was there for a particular reason, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, "Sure." And we get talking about the school. The kids are polite. "Hi, excuse me,
Yeah.
sorry," as they're,
Yeah. Right.
bobbing all through the hallways. Um, it just I gave a tribute out to Middletown because they were the first wellness space in the state of Delaware, right?
Yeah.
Under Governor Carper and Governor Castle. And then I later found out that it was Governor Markell's mom who actually, I think she ran it. Like it was super
Yeah.
cool, right? The history in
That
it.
is cool.
So
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that if you think about a bubble, you have your kids that are above it, you have your kids in the middle, and you have your kids below.
Yeah.
And so you have to have different paths for each one of those kids.
Yeah.
Um, can we do better? Autumn, we can always do better.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely, without a
Absolutely.
doubt. And some of the things that I know that are in play, right, are the talks about changing the unit funding. And that
Mhm.
is regarding how the money flows.
It's but yep.
Um, you have different branches, different folks that are working on different projects. Because I think realistically, we're not ignoring it. We don't deny it. We are
Yeah.
just saying that it's work in progress,
Yeah.
right?
So, Nicole, I think so here's my not that I was setting you up.
No, no,
I
no,
would
that's
never,
okay. That's okay.
but I do wanna talk about a point
Sure,
here
go ahead.
to the point that we are both making here is that what just happened, I think, is what happens, and that we have narratives for whatever reason
Mhm,
that exist, and if there's no conversation or other narratives, right, then we don't get a chance to really, truly, holistically look at an issue.
mhm,
So to your point, right? If I every these kids can't read. And you're like, wait a minute, actually, but that's not really in the conversation, then it's almost like you're constantly on the defense against this instead of saying, okay, let's really talk about the narrative. Is the narrative true? Is it not? Is it like where does it right? Where does it go wrong? Where's it this? Where does that? And and this is my thing, who benefits from the narrative? Whatever the narrative is,
I
right?
think, again, we take our directives straight from social media.
Yeah,
Um, and, uh, I'm not defending anyone or anything. I'm just saying that we have to look at the whole picture.
yeah,
So if we are, I mean, look, my son was on an IEP, right? It used to
uh-huh,
drive me crazy that they used to make him sit in science class.
yeah,
But the federal law said that he had to sit in science class. And I was like,
yeah,
"What? No, he needs to be up. If you had him up." And
yeah,
here's the thing, he is a distractor to the other kids, and that's not fair to them.
yeah,
So
right,
let's give and take rather than just
yeah,
constantly be a taker, right? At least this is how I felt for Nicholas. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
"Hey, can we just have him walk in the hallway? I want your teacher to be successful." And here's what I know, if I can keep Nick, at the time, he was much younger, but if I could keep Nick up,
yeah,
then I kept him out of the hospital, which meant then I kept
yeah,
the medical costs down, right? Like, it's a whole thing. It is a full-time job for a mom and dad to figure out
yeah.
how to make that work. And so, um, you know, I
That's the part about policy affecting very real
yes.
lives, and how can we possibly even begin to have conversations about policies that are about nickels and
Mhm,
dimes, and that are about data points and statistics, and not include the very real day-to-day the
mhm.
implications for people that are living this
Yeah.
thing out, you know? So whose responsibility is that? Like, I've seen, and I'm not gonna call different people out here in the state because I just don't feel like that needs to, like, I follow a lot of people on social media on both sides of the aisle. I wanna just, here in the state, and, some people are better than others, right? Where they really are kind of giving, it feels like, just again, just more of like highlight, like, this is what's happening, this is what's going on. And then I feel like I see individuals who are very, very agenda, right? Like, I am presenting this information to you to really push you, and I'm giving you my interpretation, and honestly telling you what to feel about the information that I'm giving you, which I think is incredibly irresponsible, but that's my own personal opinion. Um, how uh is that what we like? Is that how legislators are supposed to? I don't know. Maybe is that appropriate? Is it appropriate to sort of um
I'm gonna let you finish. Go ahead. Just say it.
is it appropriate to really, I don't know if that's a manipulative tactic, or if those people are truly a representation of their districts. I don't Is it both? I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how to take this. I'm
So this is what I'll say, is that again, I'll speak for just me. I live in
yeah,
this district. I raised my family in this district. I
yeah,
support this district. So if something's not working, it is just as important to
yeah,
me as it is to
yeah,
everyone else. Even though I am a Democrat, even though I'm a staunch Democrat, I have my beliefs in why I'm a Democrat.
right,
I represent my whole district. So that means
yeah,
I have a guy who calls me. Here's a funny little piece. I have a guy who calls, we are not aligned in our beliefs at all.
right,
Okay.
right.
But I take his call and I won't use his name, but
Absolutely.
someday I'll ask him, like, hey, can I? Right.
Yeah,
I watch him. He puts stuff out there on Facebook and I'm like, he's not telling the truth. This is a regular person, right? And so I
yeah,
was heading to Dover. This is a couple weeks ago, and he calls me up and he's like, Nicole. I'm like, yes. He's like, I'm so appreciative that you answered the phone, but I thought I was going to leave you a voicemail. And I'm like, not going to happen because
yeah. We're gonna
I've been
talk about
watching
that.
you. And so he says to
Yeah,
me, I don't like this bill and I don't like this bill. And I said, okay, in fairness, did you really read the bill? And he said,
yeah,
well, no. And I said, okay. And so, would you agree that the information that you're getting is coming from social media from one particular place? And I say it. And he
yeah,
says, yes. And I said, okay, fair enough. I said, here's what I'd like to do. I want to have this conversation with you because I want to hear what you have to say about it. But I can't have a
Yeah.
conversation when you haven't read the bill and you also are only getting the information from this one source,
Yeah.
irresponsibly giving this information
Yes.
out. I said, but let's talk about the logistics of what you think. And so I'll tell you what the topic was. It was safe storage for guns. And
Okay.
so he said, I have my concealed carry. I'm like, good for you. And oh,
Yeah.
that's not a problem. No, actually, it's not a problem for me. You know why? Because I
Right.
love the fact that you went and took a course. I love the
Right. And did what you were
absolutely,
supposed
you
to do.
followed the whole process. And so he said, but I don't know why you're mandating safe storage. Now, this is a bill from a few years ago that has now
Uh-huh.
come about. And I said, well, here's what I'll say is that I think that there are people out there who have been raised with responsible gun priorities, however that manifested, they have a
Uh-huh.
responsibility in their weapons, right? And
Yeah.
so
Right.
you probably could walk in their home and never know that they have any guns in
Right.
their home.
Right. Right.
But yet you have the person who didn't go get their concealed carry, who doesn't know a lot about guns, but decided, hey, I want to have
Right.
protection, which again is your right, and go and exercise
Yeah.
your right. So they go buy this gun. Let's say it's a family, and that
Yeah.
person leaves their gun on the nightstand. They have to spend the
Yeah.
night
In the
with
drawer.
their kids, right, in their drawer because
Right.
it's safe. And
Right.
their kids have to spend the night, and somehow they end up in that room, and then that gun becomes a toy,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You can never put the genie back in the bottle. You just can't.
Absolutely.
God
Right.
forbid anything terrible happens. You have destroyed several families, and then that ricochets into the
Absolutely.
community. And I'm using a high
Yeah.
level piece to this, right? So I said to the person,
Yeah.
would you say that it should be common sense that you're able to get to it, but that there's some type of protections around it? And the person said, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I said, that's what that bill was designed for. That's what we were talking
Yeah.
about. We're not stopping you from buying guns. I don't want to take away anyone's rights. I want you to be able to
Yeah.
exercise your rights, but I just also want you to exercise them with some responsibility. And but I
Right.
said to him, I'm like, look, sometimes it is a word play. Sometimes we need to do better with our words. And, you know,
Mhm.
but let's have this conversation. So anyway, I
Yeah.
mean, we went through multitude of topics, right? He is a gentleman that probably will never ever vote for me because his beliefs are what they are. But I have a
Yeah.
responsibility to still at least have that
To him as well.
conversation, to explain to
Yeah.
him how we got to where we got to. And at least in my mind, my feelings are is I want you to exercise your rights. I don't want anyone in a school. I don't want anyone to lose a child.
Oh,
There's so many things that go with that. So
yeah.
how can we be better? And so
Yeah.
I know that's a tricky topic to have a conversation about, and it can make people really angry or make them say, "Well, get rid of all of them." And when I
Yeah.
use that as an example, I use it as the fact that we still have to have the conversation. We should not shy away from it,
Yeah.
and we should
Right.
talk about, why it came to be the way it came to be. Not that, there's this big huge fight over, what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's to again, just to reiterate your point, I think that the conversations are important, and I just keep going back to I think the conversations are important. It's not just the conversation, it's how we have the conversation. And when both sides can really bring to the forefront and
Mhm,
hear the other side I am representing a very real lived
mhm,
experience that's being represented here, right? And you're bringing a very real lived experience. And so let's talk about how these two lived experiences that are both valid and real and important and all the things, just because they're different doesn't mean that one is more or less than the other. How can we figure out where we can meet in the middle of these
mhm.
lived experiences where there is a compromise that makes sense for everybody? Nobody's going to get everything that
Right,
they want because that's
right.
just not possible. But what makes sense that we can all get a little of what we want and be reasonable
Mhm,
about what we're giving up in order that we can all live together peacefully in this thing. but we're so focused on my experience is the experience, period, point blank. Your experience is stupid. It's not real. It's dumb. It's less than. You're ridiculous. Whatever. It's not valid. So I'm not even going to
Mhm,
consider it. This, and I'm not even
mhm.
hearing you because I just, you know, and that's where we continue to have these divides. And I'm like, just because I can't identify it with it because I didn't walk in that space doesn't mean that what you're
Right,
saying is not a
right.
thing, right? So, just because what you care about may not be necessarily
Yep,
be what I care about, doesn't mean that what you care about is
right.
not important.
And here's the thing,
You're
we're
right,
not
you know?
as legislators, we're not master specialists of everything, right? But you know what? Take take the time, explain it to me. Right? I can my
Right,
feelings are is
right.
I feel like I can adapt to anything. But if I don't know what I don't know, then your
Yeah,
expectation of me shoots down when in fact just take the time to explain it to me, right? Like, let
yeah,
me know, teach me. And,
yeah,
so that way, when I do have to go take a vote, I can conscientiously think about, like, okay, this is what this means. Or as we're drafting legislation, okay, this is what this means, and this is how it will affect a certain group of people. And is that what our intent
yeah,
is? And so,
yeah,
again, we
exactly.
live in this community, we live in this district. I think we have a responsibility. To your point, like I love the fact of, getting the information out there. And I think we all do our best in the way that we can do it, number one. Number two, we are sharing as much as we can. I am a firm believer that in this situation, as far as reassessments are concerned, we all need to work together because we're all taxpayers. We're
Yeah,
all stuck in the same boat.
yeah.
There is now a lawsuit out. I don't know if you know this. So there is a
I did
lawsuit
not.
out. So when we went back in August 12th and we gave the ability for the schools to do the split rate. So even though taxes went
Mhm.
up, they came down because the schools had the ability to do the split rate from residential to non residential.
Yeah.
We have something that we cannot split out big business to small business. And our
Okay.
apartment complexes are considered commercial. So you have people,
Okay.
even though they may be a
Yeah, yeah,
homeowner,
yeah.
they are paying
Right, right, right.
for their security, a roof over top of their head. But
Yeah,
underneath, gosh, I think it's the uniformity code basically says we can't do this. So in order to change it, we have to do a constitutional change, which then takes two general assemblies to do, right?
yeah.
So we have to pass it
Wow.
and then we have to pass it
Okay.
again.
Flip it
And
again.
so
Yeah,
but the folks that own the apartment complexes and, and so that are doing rentals went back and basically filed a lawsuit. We won't know. The judge is going to make the decision on October 3rd. If
okay.
the judge
What that look
rules in favor of that, everybody's rates go back up. Um,
right,
and here's the
right,
thing, but at the same time, we need to figure out, which it's going to take us a little bit of time, how to make sure that people who are renting, their rents don't go crazy, right? Because
right,
because we don't
right,
have the
right.
ability to separate it out. People also don't realize, like, at one time we had industry,
Unintentionally
we had
consequences.
manufacturing, you had the GMs, the Chryslers, the Avon, right? Great
Yeah,
salaries, you didn't need a college degree, you could support your family, good paying jobs.
right, right,
Well, GM's gone, and now you have an Amazon there.
right.
That's a different type
Yeah,
of business. That's logistics.
different
That's
type of business.
logistics.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
tax rate is
right.
not what it used to be when you were GM. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of things, and again, this goes back to education that people don't know. I have to say to you, Representative
yeah.
Cindy Romer, I've been following her on TikTok. I don't know if she knows it, but she knows it now. Um,
I'm about to start
Well,
following her. Go
she's
ahead.
doing the same thing. She's taken the time to slow things down and she's explaining it,
Yeah,
about what's happening. Um, and,
yeah,
I think I even inboxed her and said, great job. Like, way to go. Anyone, whether they live in my district or not, I'll do my very, very best to make sure that I respond to them if they're outside of
yeah,
my district. If not, I'll link them with their senator, their rep, to have that conversation. But, overall, we have to keep talking. There's no finger pointing
Yeah.
because we all live here.
Right.
Have a responsibility
Yeah.
to yourself and to the people that you serve to make sure that
And
you're
to the
giving the
community
exact facts, not what uh your
trying to
conspiracy
spin up.
theory of
Yeah.
doing it. Mhm.
Mm, yes, ma'am. Um, oh my God. Um, and especially so to that point, especially in this day and age, right? And we're eh, luckily, right, Delaware again is its
Yeah,
own little unique
yeah,
piece of the world, beautifully in the sense that, people talk about things like the Delaware way and that we're a community of or a state of neighbors and things like that. And those things are all true. And there's a beauty in that. And that's amazing because you're not this sort of this far off person. I, to your point, I know Nicole.
right.
I go to the gym with her. Yeah, she's my state senator, but I also know her as a person. And so it's harder to
Mhm,
hate up close, right? It's harder to just be
mhm,
completely antagonistic when you are truly in relationship
mhm.
with people on all levels, right? That you're representatives and that you represent, which is not necessarily the case in some other states that are much larger. And you know what I mean? You can go your whole life and never have met or
Yeah,
seen your representative or your senator or any of those things. Um, is there I think because of some of the things that
mhm,
have been happening nationally in Minnesota, you know what I mean? Um, is does that level of fear exist on any level with you here in this state, given that Delaware, the way that
mhm,
Delaware is, and
mhm.
maybe and I hope that it doesn't, right, in your mind. But does that exist for you? Because I think
So,
that's a real
you know, I've seen some negativity about the Delaware way that is filtered, and this is
yeah,
what I'll say about that, is that I love Delaware, and I do love the
yeah,
Delaware way. What I
yeah,
love is that I
yeah,
can pick up the phone and call someone, or I can see them out and we can talk, or someone is comfortable enough to call me and say, "Hey, Nicole, I have this issue," right? That's the
yeah.
Delaware way. We don't care how many degrees you have. We care where you went to high school. So I
Well,
tell people all the time when they're new, I say to them, tell people you went to William Penn. You'll be fine. And, and I'll give you some names, right? Like as a joke to it. But I grew up in Jefferson Farms, but
right.
I had to do the Catholic track, right? My dad, even when he was out of work,
Yeah,
lost his pension, basically was still paying, the tuition for me and my brother at St. Peter's, even when the priest came to him
yeah.
and said, "Hey, we can suspend payment." My dad said, "Absolutely not." And, my dad was so prideful
Mm,
in the fact that we had to be in Catholic school. Um, but the reality is that that's Delaware way. And there's a gentleman in Old Newcastle. My dad had been out of work for more than 2 years, and my dad was, devastated. My dad was a great crier, which was such a great thing, believe it or not.
yeah,
And,
100%.
back this is, you know, my dad was raised by his mom and his aunt, and there were 5 girls, right? And so they all helped
Mhm,
with my dad and my
mhm,
uncle. And so it was really hard. So my dad was bartending at something called the Green Frog in Old Newcastle. So for all the old Delawareans that are listening, they'll know about the Green Frog. And this gentleman walked in
yeah,
and said to my dad, "Hey Lex, so good to see you. How's it going?" My dad busted out crying. He was 42 years old. And guy said, "Oh my God, Lex, what's going on?" And he said,
yeah, what's going on?
"I can't find a job." He said, "It's not that I can't find a job. What I was making at Electric Hose and Rubber before they closed down and took all of our pensions, I can't find that job again. And
Yeah.
so I've
Oh my
been
goodness.
bartending to
Right.
make some extra money." And the guy said, "Meet me tomorrow at ICI, which is off the Cherry Lane,
Mm,
because you know the work.
right,
Meet me there." And
right.
my dad went over and met him,
Yeah,
and my dad ended up retiring 18 years later after that. That's the Delaware way, right? So when people
that's the
call
Delaware
us
way.
and say, "Hey,
Yeah,
I need a job," or "I'm looking at this," and we're calling around, like, okay, let me call 20 people and let's see what we can do
yeah,
for you, right? Because we pick each other
right.
up. So I just have a hard time when people
Yeah,
are really mean about the Delaware way, because whether you're from Delaware or not, if
Yeah.
you call me, we're going to work together. So then you ask me about being fearful. I have a couple people that like to say a lot of things on Facebook, right? My fake blonde hair, my fake this and
Oh.
that. Uh,
Things that mean absolutely no like, what does that have to
mhm.
do with
Yeah,
anything
I try
that
to
is
like,
happening?
you have to
Okay.
have thick skin, so I don't pay attention to it, right? If you're in my
Yeah.
district, then I'm paying attention to it, and so I might call you like, "Hey, do you like, have we met? Like, tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about yourself because I feel like you don't know who
Right.
I am, and I wanna make sure we can have that conversation." Um,
Right.
and so
Right.
that it's not the people that are writing the stuff, it's the people that look at that and believe what is being written, right? Like,
Right. Right.
if someone is saying, like, I've done a lot of stuff for domestic violence. If someone is saying that I am supportive of men who are doing terrible things, oh gosh, do you realize that you could trigger a woman who is
Right.
like in a crisis? And that is so not factual,
Absolutely.
all because you have painted this picture in
Right.
your mind or whatever you think that you've read. That's the part that scares me. I always
Ugh.
am conscientious about my kids, right? Always checking on them. Because my children,
Yeah.
although they understand that, like, we have to have a service of giving back, they didn't choose this. They are so supportive of me doing this. They go out and door
Yeah.
knock with me.
Right.
They see it all. But, it does,
Yeah.
I just always am like, just pay attention and just remember, you never know, because you never know what someone's come away from. You never know what they're challenged with, and we
Right.
are far
Right.
from our challenges, not far from
Right.
our challenges, so, like, let's be respectful of that. So, I'm personally I don't wanna go too far out on a limb. I'm personally not overly worried, but I do worry about people's perception and then what they wanna put out there and some of the things. But for the most part, I don't have a lot of it, thankfully. I might have 1 or 2, might have,
Yeah.
3. I love when people discount what I do for a living and the things that they say. I'm so proud of Jobs for Delaware graduates. I'm so proud of the 60 employees. I'm so proud of the work that they put in, the kids that we work with. So talk all
Yeah.
you want, because all you're doing is giving me the ability to talk more about Jobs for Delaware graduates. When the comments are like, "Oh, can she really run a company?" Well, I don't know. I ran 150 million for DuPont versus 5 million for Jobs for Delaware graduates. You tell me. Mhm.
Listen, flex on them, Nicole.
Yeah.
Flex on them. Let them know.
Yeah.
Ask me again. Ask me again, can I do this? That's good. That's good. And I'm glad, like
Yeah.
I said, Delaware is its own special bubble. And not that I don't think that anyone in any other state would say that they would probably say the same
Mhm.
thing. Oh, we are a community of neighbors and all this kind of thing. But I think just for our sheer size that truly it is a state of neighbors and that
Absolutely.
it's less than 6 degrees of separation. And it is really difficult to hate up close. So yeah, you do see some people and it really irks me. Like I don't care again what side of the aisle you're on when
Yeah.
I'm all for healthy debate and disagreeing and things like that. But when you start saying things like, you're an idiot, da 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 da, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what does that have to do with the policy?
Yeah.
Like stick to if you have a disagreement about the policy, stick to the policy. What does you insulting that human have to do with this policy that you disagree
Yeah.
with? Like, what is happening right now? So when there's an ability to, it's
Yeah.
harder to separate
Yeah.
somebody's
Absolutely.
humanity when you know that
And
person.
that's
And
and
so,
again,
yeah,
that's why I go
I'm
back
glad.
to, as legislators, we
Yeah,
have a responsibility to not stir the chaos.
yeah,
Okay? There's enough on the national level. Listen, we're heading into some tough times. It does not matter. Let me also say this.
yeah,
We have to be respectful of the positions, okay? It is not an easy job. I don't care who you are. And I
yeah,
bet you I was fortunate enough to see
right.
President Biden yesterday and get a big hug from him. Um, he's great.
And
He is
I'm like, how's
great.
he
And
doing?
he's he's great. But you know what? He would tell you it's not an
Yeah,
easy job. So you're never going to get it 100% right. You're never going to make everybody
yeah,
happy, but you have to be respectful
right.
of the office. Look, more than 50% of women voted for our current president. Let me say that one more time. More than
Yeah.
50% of women voted for our current president. And so gracefully, that's a
Mhm, mhm.
that is a choice. They democracy was in full
That is a
effect in the way that played out. So,
absolutely. We got a lot that we gotta deal with and
yes.
consider and respect and incorporate and think
Mhm,
about and
mhm.
understand
But I also
and
believe
understand,
that we were still
and
gonna
that is
hit some
important.
financial times. Right? So that again, whoever was
Yeah,
sitting in this seat was gonna be up against some different changes coming out of COVID and the different things that
yeah,
are on our plate today,
right,
right?
right,
The world the world is struggling. The world is struggling.
right.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
we're and Delaware, you're gonna see some of those things because we are controlled and guided by social media, right? Like let's protect our amendments, but let's
yeah.
also make sure that we have some integrity in what we're saying and what we're doing. And
Y
people don't want to live in chaos. So, as an elected official,
well, Nicole, I feel like some people wanna live in
when you
chaos,
can't get
but,
off that merry-go-round because the social media is constantly pushing
yeah,
whether it's from elected
yeah,
officials, whether it's from
yeah,
newscast, whatever it may be, it's hard to pull yourself away from it. And so
yeah,
because, it's like watching the train. The trains get ready to
yeah.
wreck, you know what's gonna happen and you can't pull away from it. Yes. And so that's what happens. But
Pit
if we all
stop.
took a beat,
Yeah,
took a pause, and then again, you're
yeah,
educating in what the facts are and then saying, "Hey, if this is
yeah,
not working for you, if we are hurting you in some way, then we need to hear it so that way we can figure out how to fix it." Let me say it again. We all live in our areas, so it is just as important to us as it is as it is for everyone else. I mean, believe me, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. Well, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for that. This has been uh, a really good conversation about a lot of different things, and you have given a lot of gems. And I get we could have done a 90-part series on this. We didn't even get a chance to really even get super deep into a lot of the things that you were talking about. I was like, oh my God, what about the oh my God, there's that. So whether we do
Absolutely.
another podcast or not, we definitely have to get together and go to lunch soon because
Let's do it.
this is I'm
Let's
like,
do
there's
it.
things I need to talk to her about. There's stuff that I need to talk to her about. But before I go, so the last question I always ask everybody before they leave is tell me the one piece of, and I know you've gotten a lot of advice, right? But what is the one thing that you would say this piece of advice was the most life changing advice for me? I know that's a hard one,
I
but
think it kinda all goes
what's the
together.
one
Love
thing
what
that
you
you would say?
do and don't be afraid of change. And so I use that
Okay.
all the time, right? I'm gonna end up where I'm supposed to be, but I love what I do. So as long
Yeah.
as I love what I do, as long as I can get up every morning and if my cup is half filled and I surround myself with the people that can fill it all the way to the top, I'm in. If my cup is so drained, then I'm looking for my foundational people that help me get it up
Yeah.
and then I continue from there.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. Thank you, Nicole. This has been, again, an incredible conversation. It's been such a blessing to me.
I
I know
hope
it's going to
so.
be a blessing to other people for so many reasons. There was a level of vulnerability, there was a level of support and just connection in
Mhm.
people who are struggling with things silently and just being able to know and understand that there are other people out there who get it, who have experienced it, who have gotten through it. That is an absolute inspiration and testimony there. It has been informational. You've given us some local information about what's going on there. You have covered a lot, which is exactly what I wanted to happen here. And like I said, it's been an absolute blessing. So I appreciate you being open and honest and vulnerable and taking the time with me this morning and with all of us. So I hope that you guys all have an amazing week. And
Please,
listen, reach out to her. She is making herself
please,
available. If you are
absolutely.
locally in Delaware, hit her
Yep.
up. 12th District. uh, We out here. We out here.
Thank you.
So, and doing incredible things. Thank you, Nicole.